Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for UFC Montevideo from Uruguay. Cody Saftic
Paul
in studio. Have you ever been to Uruguay? Have you ever been to South America?
No,
because
I
the
have
answer
not.
for me is no.
No, I don't really.
Technically, I have been to South America.
You've like at an airport.
I was on a flight, or I was on a cruise, and we went to Margarita Island, which is technically part of Venezuela.
Okay.
But not really.
Did you have a margarita there?
I never went mainland. You would never in a million years want to have went into Venezuela.
Yeah.
But this was like the nice little place in Venezuela that tourists actually went to.
Fair enough. Yeah, on my list of places to visit, South America doesn't really pop off on me. But yeah,
Really?
who knows? Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. I'd like to say, oh, I like the beaches. They're full of beaches. I like the culture. Great culture. I like heat. Super hot. No idea why. But if they put on a banger of a card on come Saturday, maybe I'll rethink that.
I mean, Uruguay was never on my list, but Brazil, Colombia, maybe even Peru to see the ruins and stuff. Like
Uruguay has made me money
and Argentina
in
Argentina
World
looks
Cup
pretty cool,
soccer
too.
because they always get through the first match.
They do. They have Suarez. He bites people.
Yeah, you can't play here.
Not much
And that's why
Uruguayan talent on this card.
And we talk about like home cooking and all that, but it's like there's not a lot of Uruguayan talent on this.
Yeah, I think it's just this GARAGORRI guy.
Yeah, they've gone to places before and just tried to put like that one local guy, and it almost doesn't work out. So
Yeah.
instead, they're just like, hey, let's put some Brazilians and let's
Yes.
put some Argentinians and let's just put a little mix of different South American fighters on there. So I don't know what to believe in the home cooking. There's a lot of fights here. I think this is a close fight between an American guy and a South American guy. Wouldn't you want, if you're believing in home cooking, wouldn't you want to go with the South American guy? But I just don't know.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, the judging there has always been bad. So I just don't know who it benefits.
I think the last time it was like Diego Rivas in
A big
in
favorite.
Chile.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like you can't lay juice on some of these.
He was
guys.
on the main card, Paul. You
And
know
we'll
how
talk about
ludicrous that
the
is?
GARAGORRI guy, or that's how I'm going to say his name when we get there. But it's just like he's 12-0, but it's like, who have you really fought?
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, let's get to the main event. A rematch of sorts. Well, actually, not of sorts. 100%. Actually, I almost dropped the ball there.
You did.
Forgot about the winners from last week's draw. We have He Hate Me 14. Congratulations. You are the winner of 20 DK dollars. If you want to get into a draw this week and be like, He Hate Me 14, then what you got to do is give the episode a like, leave your DK handle, and tell us who your favorite play under 8K is. That will get you into a draw to win 20 DK dollars like He Hate Me 14.
Exactly. And take it up with Pat. If you got any complaints,
Yeah.
at the PME, he is the prize department.
Yeah.
However, just all you got to do is like the show, give your handle, who is your best 8,000 play. And there's a lot of them, let's be honest here. As any B-side
we're
here
gonna
is sub
get it.
8,000.
We're gonna break down the entire card. So
Yeah.
there's no point in us telling you quite yet, but we get into it.
Okay.
All right, we have Valentina Shevchenko taking on Liz Carmouche, rematch from like 8 years ago.
9, I think.
Nine,
Yeah,
yeah,
8,
actually, it was
9 years ago.
2010, yeah. Valentina Shevchenko, 9,600, minus 1,250 favorite. Liz Carmouche, 6,600 and plus 800. Okay, well, Carmouche won. I believe she won by submission. I may be wrong on that off the top of my head. Either way, this is like 9 years ago. Valentina obviously had probably next to no ground game at the time. But this price is set up for you to 100% just not play this line. Unless you want to play Carmouche, you want to absolutely have a full-out punt type of play. Like we did see Liz Carmouche get onto the back of Ronda Rousey.
Once upon a time. How long ago was that, Paul?
Of course, I know. But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
1250, 800. It's just like, don't be adding Shevchenko to parlays at this price. Because, like, really, what's the return? The only thing that you could do, if you're doing like a 13 fight, the entire fight parlay, okay, throw her on. Like, that'll juice it up or whatever. And you can hedge out. If you do go 12 for 12, you get to
That's
this
the main
main
thing.
event.
It's easy hedge if you are going to parlay. it.
Sure, but man, minus 1250 banana peel pricing. So I'm going to be avoiding this fight. It's pretty much unbettable. I think Shevchenko wins. I think that she is on a different level than anybody else in this division right now. And the thing with Shevchenko on DraftKings is we've seen her pile up some points in a bunch of her fights, but that's where she was able to mix in grappling and stuff. And I think Liz Carmouche should be able to negate most of that. I do expect Carmouche to just eat a whole bunch of shots by a much more well-seasoned striker in Shevchenko. But 9,600, even if we go to 5 rounds, Shevchenko isn't exactly the highest volume output when she's on her feet. Maybe Carmouche will force the issue by just like charging forward, and she could score. She could score big, but 9,600 is a lot to pay for somebody who probably won't be able to grapple all that much in this. So I think I'm just fading the main event in general.
Yeah, I don't think anybody had much interest in seeing this rematch, but it's similar to when Conor McGregor was on his little bit of roll, and everybody always would be like, oh man, he should fight Joe Duffy. It's like, why would Conor McGregor fight Joe Duffy? That makes absolutely no sense. Joe Duffy subbed him. It's like, yeah, I get that, but just like both of their careers have gone different paths. I'm not saying Carmouche never got to the top of the mountain. She attained that. But like that fight with Shevchenko was back when they were both like undefeated, and it was before Liz Carmouche even signed with Strikeforce. You have a 22-year-old Valentina Shevchenko versus a 26-year-old Liz Carmouche. And you're right, Carmouche was the grappler. She was 4 years older, which made a difference. She was a little bit stronger. She's able to kind of get her to the ground. She gets the victory. Now, years and years later, Shevchenko's gotten to a point where there's really nobody in the division for her to fight. Who could she realistically is the #1 contender? We don't know. But you got to keep her busy. She's got to fight people. Sure, we're going to build it up to a potential trilogy match with Amanda Nunes, but she's got to defend this 125 title a couple times. Who do we have that's a challenger? Geez, we got Liz Carmouche. She's 35. She's on a 2-fight winning streak. Her last loss is Alexis Davis. She shouldn't be in a title position, but she has that one win. And because she has that one win, we can sell it. When the fight opens, you're going to get on Shevchenko. Problem is, everybody got on Shevchenko. That's why it's now $1,250. DK Prices opens a little bit after that line is settled. They're going to make it $9,600. Now, here's the interesting thing. Valentina Shevchenko's actually finished 3 of her last 4 opponents, or her last three of her last 4 wins. Didn't finish Joanna Jędrzejczyk, but I mean, technically, Priscilla Cachoeira, she smoked her. Jessica Ai completely stiffened her up. And then she does have an armbar win over Juliana Pena, showing that her grappling's come a long way. She's kind of versatile. It's just Liz Carmouche has gone to decision her last 7 fights. She is a decision machine. She has never been knocked out. She has been submitted, albeit, do we think Shevchenko is such a great grappler that she's now going to sub her? I don't know. This is a 3-round fight. I completely agree with what you're saying. Stay away. Maybe Carmouche slows it down. Maybe she scores some takedowns. Maybe she just gets a tricky position where she's able to take the back and ride it out, and it's long enough to steal around. But in a 5-round fight, you think Cream's going to rise to the top. Shevchenko's eventually just going to pick away at her and get her. It's a huge price. Only thing I'm debating with myself now is, do you take Shevchenko by decision, knowing Carmouche's got a long history of being durable and probably will be there for 25? Or do you go with this rhythm of, geez, she's so much better than everybody else in the division that why can't she just blast you in the head with a kick? Why can't she, touch you up over the course of 25? Why can't she, force a desperate Carmouche to make a mistake and then submit her on the ground? Like, why can't she do those things? I don't know. So that's where it becomes a little bit more. I'm full agreements with you, though. DK, $9,600, no chance. If I was a Carmouche supporter, how could I not pass on the 66?
But again, I'm not a Carmouche believer. Things too. It's like we're talking about, like, if you're making like a single bullet, you're making a couple lineups. You can avoid this fight. If you're max entering things, you're gonna have 25%. You may have an underweight position on this type of fight.
We're trying to help.
You're making 150 lineups. You're not gonna completely fade this. You would
But we're trying to give people the pieces to build a lineup.
Exactly.
And for a lineup, maybe Shevchenko's a little bit overpriced. Even though I think we're in full agreement that she's probably going to win this fight.
She can totally score. She can totally score. She could totally be the highest scorer on this card. I'm just going to be spending my DK dollars elsewhere.
Fair enough.
All right. We got the co-main event. We have Vicente Luque taking on Mike Perry. Vicente Luque, 9,000 on DraftKings, a -230 favorite. Mike Perry, 7,200 and +190. Who you got here, Cody?
Yeah, well, we've kind of seen it time and time with Mike Perry. Like, so entertaining, so fun to watch. He's obviously a crowd pleaser and a fan favorite, but like when he takes on better, more technical strikers than him, it's just like there's a big experience gap. There's a big technique gap. And can he fill that gap with just that sheer bruteness? And that's, he's got some decent size to the division. He's not huge as a welterweight, but he's got heart. He's got physicality. He'll come at you. He'll make it a brawl. Can he force your hand at that? Probably. It's just the guys that don't play into that kill him. So looking at his, I'm just going to look at the recent fights from him, but It all starts off with the Santiago Ponzinibbio fight. Here's a superior striker. He's more seasoned. He's got more experience. He's better all around, and he's a top guy. And he's able to just play with them. Other than periods where Mike Perry showed a little heart and came swinging at him and survived a decision. That Max Griffin fight. Max Griffin just fights a technical game plan and outpoints him. The Felder fight, Felder's a technical fighter, but Felder took the fight on a week's notice, moved up from 155 pounds, looked out of it in sorts, and still it was a split decision. Then the Cerrone fight. Here's a much more technical fighter than him. It's the same thing. Now people are starting to get back on him because that Cowboy Oliveira fight. Here's a top contender, and here's somebody he went through, but Cowboy's another guy. His best days seemingly were at 155 pounds. He's coming up here to take on Mike Perry, and he has lots of success. Mike Perry's just able to break him down ever so slightly. With LUQUE, we all know he's faster. We all know he's a sharper, more technical striker. We all know he's a better wrestler. We all know he has better grappling skills. But you lost get that Brian Barberena fight. In LUQUE, if he doesn't put you away, he's hittable. He's really hittable. If you're going to stand with there and you're going to offer him a fight, why can't you take it from them? Brian Barberena, not the most talented guy, not the biggest guy. Everything that Brian Barberena brings to the table, you can make a strong and valid argument that Mike Perry can do everything just as good, if not better. So why can't Mike Perry be the live dog in this situation? It's just because I've seen history repeat itself. Cowboy Oliveira is a brawler. Felder fought a bad game plan and was moving up a weight class. He take advantage of those guys. Guys that are his size, that are better, sharper, quicker, more accurate strikers, they're going to have their way. And LUQUE, even though he's been dealt a bad hand in the sense that he's on a massive win streak, he looks sick. But it's he fights so many of the Derek Krantzes of the world that's it's hard to really see where he's at. But he's not taking a ton of damage in those fights. He's improving every day. He's young. I just feel like he's a little bit sharper, a little bit better. And even though this could be a dicey nail biter, I'm going to go with Vicente Luque. I
do worry about Vicente Luque takes... He gets hit.
Damn right he does. He doesn't move his head at all.
He doesn't really move his head. That is my one concern against Perry. We've seen Perry, the elbow against Ellenberger. This guy does have finishing capabilities. So Mike Perry is live in this fight. I don't think he's going to win. I'm with you. I think that the better, more technical striker I think he's going to come up with a pretty good game plan. You watch that Max Griffin fight, you see the holes that you can exploit. Maybe even Vicente Luque decides to take this fight to the ground. He knows if he can get this fight to the ground, his jits is definitely good enough to finish off Mike Perry. I like him, but there is some risk. Derek Krantz rocked him pretty good. Barberena knocked Luque pretty good. He has
been rocked.
He has been rocked, and he's taking on a power puncher.
His chin does hold up when he gets rocked, but you're 100% right.
It's not like Luque is a full-out lock, but I'm with you. I like him to win as well.
One last thing I want to just touch on is the DK pricing on this. Even though Luque, he could score a tremendous amount of points against Mike Perry, and 9,000 is definitely something I look at. I got him winning. That's who I'm going to side on. But as far as cash games go, when you look at that Brian Barberena fight, Brian Barberena scores a pile of points against Vicente Luque and ultimately loses. Mike Perry, $7,200. If you've got cash game, if he wins, he's going to be a hell of a play. If he loses, he could still get you 60, 70 points, which actually gets him up to near his value at the 7,200.
Unless he gets taken down and choked.
Yeah, unless he gets taken down and choked.
That's what you're dodging there. But
who's done that to him, right? It seems like that's...
Cowboy Cerrone?
Okay, fair. Donald Cowboy Cerrone had his way with him. But again, since then he made his camp switch. Since then he's looking a little bit better. And I don't know that I'd say Vicente Luque is on the same wrestling acumen of Donald Cerrone. But either way, I think Luque is going to be the pick. It's just, with Mike Perry, you don't know what version you're going to get. And if you get a damn good version of him, he's a handful for anybody. It's just, again, sometimes his girlfriend's coaching him, or I guess it's his wife now. Sometimes it's Greg Jackson. Sometimes I think he's back in Florida now Greg Jackson. Now he's going to South America. There's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't just bet Mike Perry just because he, rocks a funny haircut and is entertaining.
And has tattoos on his face. Don't get tattoos on your face until you've lived your dreams, kids. One of the best lines by him of all time. Anyway, we got Luis Eduardo Garagorri. That sounds like I'm Italian, but I'm supposed to be Uruguayan. He takes on Humberto Bandenay. Garagorri is 8,400 and minus 125 favorite. Bandenay 7,800 and plus 105. I tried watching tape on this Garagorri guy. It's just this is one of his most recent fights, and it's just it's like a phone cam from 1999, super low quality. But from what I was able to discern from watching it, I was just you're 12-0, but Like, dude, like nobody, like, and none of these guys that you're fighting are even anywhere close to even being like a contender series type of
These
fight.
guys wouldn't make it on Tough Latin America.
No, man. So,
And you gotta stretch it to make that cast. God
I guess he
damn.
is the local guy. Bandenay is nothing special. He did have that one, like, you know,
He won Tough
flying
Latin
knee-
America. He won Tough Latin
Oh, and
America.
he-
That's his fucking
And he had
claim to
that
fame.
flying knee knockout, like in the show, or was it? That was the.
He landed the head kick in the final, and he was the underdog. And after that, people all of a sudden started betting him as a favorite against people he had no business being in the ring with. And you know, at least now they're giving him. He is the seasoned veteran now compared to this guy.
Yeah,
who
he's
despite
like
being
he's
12
like
and up.
14-8 though.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I find it hard to believe anybody can feel like they really have an edge on this type of fight. Like GARAGORRI, he doesn't look very good, but Bandenay is about the level that could make this competitive. I see this as a pick'em as it is. Give me the local guy. All things equal, maybe there's a little robbery, a little carne asado, or whatever the hell they call it down in Uruguay. They love their steak. That's the home cooking down there. Give me the local Uruguayan, but like I am not betting this fight. I am sorry. And like I just don't really have a very good read on it whatsoever. Like there's just not enough information for me to feel confident in it.
yeah, I'm taking a hard pass. I'm going to take Bandenay. The thing that worries me is that this is the kind of fight that you probably need one of these guys on a successful DK lineup.
Maybe.
Because
There's a lot of options.
Bandenay's only $7,800, and could he just go out and boot this guy in the head like he did Martin Bravo once upon a time?
Sure.
Yeah. Why couldn't he? Flip side to that, it's like Bandenay's really not all that good, and this guy, this Uruguayan fighter, he's very one-dimensional, but like he swings heaters. Like he is going to try to take you out. He's got that home crowd. He'll come after you. They're both it's an evenly priced fight. And both of them are a decent price on DK, although I much prefer the $7,800 on Bandenay over the $8,400 on his opponent on the flip side of that. The thing with Bandenay is that maybe we're not giving him a full shake, right? Let's pull out those last two losses from his career. His record looks infinitely better than his opponents here. Not only did, he beat this Vicente Vargas, who's 7-0, but then he beat Salim Mulakov, right? Mulakov is no joke. In fact, he's a Sanda expert, and it's a good little win for him. That gets him on Tough. He runs through Tough. He gets to fight with Bravo. He knocks Bravo out. So now he's definitely a South American prospect. It's like, how do South American prospects do against Gabriel fucking Benitez? No, not good, because Benitez is out of AKA. He's a much more refined Latin American prospect, South American prospect, I should say. Fights at a better camp. He's got UFC experience. He's a much more versatile striker. He beats him up. Okay, we get that. But that Austin Arnett fight, it seems like you're doing him a favor, right? It's in South America. Austin Arnett is really a nobody. It's just not a good fight. The guy's extremely durable. He's got a quirky style. He doesn't make you look good. It's an absolutely boring fight. And now you're getting a guy who would, if this fight was Luis Eduardo Garagorri versus Austin Arnett or Gabriel Benitez, the conversation wouldn't even have. We would just gloss over it. Like, yeah, he's got no shot. Those guys are better than him. So Bandenay losing to them, I don't care. The plus 105, it's totally dog or pass. You should pass. But I would take the dog for the plus 105. And then when I look at the DK lineup, do your research on this one. $7,800. Fuck, dude, this guy's got a history of finishing. He can finish with strikes. He can finish with submissions. He's taking on a guy who's absolutely unproven. The other thing is he fought on Tough Latin America. He won the Ultimate Fighter. And he's got two more, I should say, plus that winning in the fun, 3 UFC fights under his belt. That makes a world of difference compared to some guy who's not only not fought in the UFC, he's not even fought on a place that filmed the fights for him before. That's why his buddy on the world's shittiest potato of a cell phone has to film it for him. So unless they're doing the world's greatest job of hiding a prospect. Yeah. Anyway, the very last thing I'll say though is when I looked at both of their camps is that this Uruguayan guy seems to be training nowhere. Like he's just doing the same thing that's gotten him to
in Uruguay, which is basically nowhere.
Whereas Bandenay's in South America now because the fight's there and whatever. He's got South American roots, but he had spent a lot of time with Team Oyama in California. And Colin Oyama's a genius. They got a good little team there. You see the improvements that their young prospects make. Why can't this guy be like that? So dog or pass, he'd be smart to take the pass.
Yeah, fair enough. I hear that. Yeah, it's really tough to trust either one of those guys. Anyway, let's move on. We have Volkan Ozdemir taking on my boy, the Sledgehammer, Ilir Latifi. This fight rebooked. I believe when it was last time this fight was booked, I caught a plus 160 on Ilir Latifi. I was happy with that.
Yeah.
And by the time it got canceled, it was like plus 105. Right now, it's Latifi is plus 120. OEZDEMIR is minus 140, 8,500 and 7,700 respectively on DraftKings. I mean, at plus 160, I was fully in on Latifi. I think it's relatively close. I would maybe slightly edge. No, I wouldn't, because for people new to the show, I'm a Latifi guy.
He's been good to you. He's been good to you.
Top 5 guy in the pantheon of Paul Shag guys.
Yeah, and there's been good prices offered him on in the past.
And I like him. And you know what? Even though I guess you could say Volkan OEZDEMIR is I am never gonna get the thought of Kelly Anunson ragdolling this guy all over the Bellator cage.
You love bringing that up.
I'm never gonna get it out of my head. And hey, my boy Latifi, we saw him do that type of that game plan against Tyson Pedro. It's definitely possible. It worries me. I haven't laid anything on Latifi yet, but maybe it's bias, maybe it's truth, but it's my truth. I'm living my truth. I'm picking Latifi here.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to ride with your guns. And I mean, I can't really fault you. Volkan OEZDEMIR's on a 3-fight losing streak. Has not really looked all that impressive in quite some time. And yeah, I get it. But the price is just not good enough on Latifi. Plus 160, and if it gets back to that, definitely tempting. He's got the ground game. He's the sledgehammer for a reason. He just throws them lunchbox at you. But then eventually gets in on your hips and peels you to the ground. When he's on top of you, fuck, man, he's hard to get off because he's just so short and stocky. And the flip side to that is OEZDEMIR doesn't got a great get-up game to begin with, and he doesn't got a great get-up game when you're 6'4" trying to get a guy off who's 5'9". Trust me, a lot harder. Those long limbs are not going to help you against someone who's going to probably win the scrambles. So does Latifi have a path? Yes. I'm going to go with greasy theory on this. I think your boy Sledgehammer is fucking done, dude. I think like injuries have mounted up on him. I think he pulls out of the last Volkan OEZDEMIR fight with a back injury. And a back is like usually the beginning of the end.
I got a backiotomy.
Yeah, kind of got a backiotomy. My man just slept with my mama. So anyways, when you look at Latifi, you kind of do start to get that impression. The Bader fight, he gets clocked, whatever. The Tyson Pedro fight, yeah, he's underdog. People got him half written off there and uses his superior wrestling. Only thing though is Tyson Pedro is terrible. No takedown defense. No, man.
You loved him.
No, man. I've lost money on him in a few spots.
Ran that gym. You loved him.
Tyson Pedro
Until he
is
broke your
hurting
goddamn
times.
heart.
Yeah, he did break my heart. He's not a very talented guy. Very young, very green. Shouldn't have been exposed to the UFC that quick. And turns out, total fraud. The Alvenstein Proof fight, he hits him. He puts him in that guillotine. Crazy that a guy that short is hitting guillotine a guy that tall. But he does. That Corey Anderson fight, though, there's nothing to him. And I get Corey Anderson's a superior wrestler. He's a better athlete. He's a superior wrestler. He's just got way better cardio. His striking's a little bit better. But it's like, this is a chinny guy. Latifi might be able to catch him. And Latifi's a hard wrestler. He's hard to take down. But it's like, he had nothing to offer. Then he pulls out the back injury. Now you look at a guy that's 36 years old. He's very short for the division. He's always been short for the division. He's going to have to fall back on his wrestling. But with Volkan, only 29, he knows he can strike. All he's been working on is takedown defense because that's what fails him every time. And then when you go back to his last fight against Dominic Reyes, that's when his takedown defense is finally starting to get there. He's finally starting to get more comfortable in grappling exchanges. He probably wins that fight. Very, very close fight. And I had Dominic Reyes everywhere. So I'm glad Reyes won. But damn, that's a better version of him. Now he's set to take on Latifi. People are supporting him. He's the favorite. Latifi hurts his back. Latifi comes back older. Volkan's coming back with just more training under his belt. Another camp, more wrestling, more conditioning. He's had this fight booked 3 times. He's ready for what Latifi brings. Whereas I just don't know that Latifi can still deal with these bigger, taller, superior strikers unless he can get the fight to the ground. So I didn't like it the first time around. It was a little too wide. But Volkan OEZDEMIR at only minus 140, I would take it. The 8,500, it's not bad because even though this could be a very slow, grinding affair that doesn't have that many exchanges. The guy's got dynamite power, and maybe he does catch Latifi, who has been caught by dynamic strikes at least a few times in the past. But more than likely, I don't love that DK pricing, but I could see him paying up and being a decent play if he could force that stoppage.
We got Rodolfo Vieira taking on Oscar Piechota. Rodolfo Vieira is 9,100 minus 230 favorite. Piechota 7,100 plus 190. What's your take here?
Yeah, I don't see how. I really don't see how my boy Rodolfo Vieira loses this fight. He probably just takes down Piechota, and I would think he submits him with relative ease. The confusing thing is that Piechota is probably a much better striker than Rodolfo Vieira, and Piechota is also a black belt. And a good black belt. He's got ADCC experience. He's got a win over Keenan Cornelius way back in the day. Like, the guy can hold his own. And this is not gi grappling. This is no gi grappling. You're going to get sweaty in there. It's an MMA fight. Who's to say Pichota's defense isn't good enough to just allow him to survive? And then if he can extend this fight into some later rounds, he's got a superior striking skill set, beat Rodolfo Vieira. But Rodolfo Vieira is a special kind of animal. Like, it's going to take a top-level athlete. It's going to take a top 15 contender at the very least to beat him, and Pichota's exactly not that. And then Piechota just got submitted by Gerald Mearshart, who's a black belt. But Mearshart should not have caught him, and he did. And Rodolfo Vieira should turn this guy into an absolute pretzel. The pricing at 230 is, I think, very, very, very generous. And $9,100, I mean, hey, we expect this guy to go get that submission, for sure. I was very confident in Kron Gracie over Bruce Leroy when he made his debut. And the whole thought here is Bruce Leroy's got a history of getting caught with the rear naked choke. Kron's got a history of getting on people's backs. He's going to cruise here. Now, where is Kron's ceiling in the UFC? That I don't know, because there's going to be guys that are going to stuff his takedowns and beat the shit out of him standing. But against a certain level of opponent, he should be fine. I have not been impressed with Piechota in the slightest bit. And we talk about his grappling credentials. Remember his debut against Jonathan Wilson? Like, you're on the ding-a-ling, man, Jonathan Wilson, for 15 minutes. You can't submit this guy? Like, it's a fairly close fight with him? I don't know. If Vieira was one of these guys that was just a BJJ practitioner coming into MMA, you know, you're a little hesitant in how good is this guy going to be. But he's not just a BJJ ace. He's the BJJ ace. He's a guy that's beaten the absolute best guys in the world and is widely regarded as one of the best guys to ever do the damn thing. So we got to give him a little extra layer of support here. And then the other thing is that he's a little bit proven. He went to Russia, fought for ACB, took on tough Russian Sambo practitioners, and whipped them to the ground and submitted them with relative ease. So, yeah, is he going to get exposed at some point? Could be. He's going to have to fight somebody good, but he's not over the hill. He's not too old. He's not banged up. He's got a large, superior skill set. You know, unless I'll be wearing a lot of egg on my face, like I don't quite see how Vieira is going to lose this. And because there's so many fights going on between Contender Series on Tuesday, we got PFL on Thursday, you got this card on Saturday, you've got an even bigger UFC pay-per-view coming up after that. Because there's so much going on in the mix, maybe that's why it's sitting at 230, because it should be higher, I believe.
Now comes the time where we have our triannual discussion about Enrique Barzola and whether he's actually going to go for takedowns. Because that's what he's good at. That's how he scores on DraftKings.
And when he
but
does...
this guy, oh my God. I roster him every single week. This is the first time that I've been like, can I do this again? Because he'll just he just happily just stands at range and strikes and doesn't use the one thing that he's good at, the one thing that he can really take over the fight by doing. He wasn't able to, he tried against Kevin Aguilar. That's kind of unfair, I guess. And Aguilar was shooking him off.
Aguilar is not known for takedown defense.
That's
that
true.
one was the anomaly. I don't understand what happened that night.
8,900, Enrique Barzola. Bobby Moffett, 7,300. Minus 145, Barzola, plus 125. How's Moffitt's takedown defense? That's really what I want to ask from you.
Yeah, it's not bad. The guy can wrestle. He's an MMA lab guy. He's got great jiu-jitsu. He's got nasty Darce choke, nasty front headlock. Could he stuff Barzola's takedowns? Absolutely. Will he stuff large majority of them? Yeah, quite possibly. But Barzola's got one thing that the rest of the division doesn't have. Yeah, he's got really a bad ring IQ, and he needs to shore that up. But I believe him to be the pound for pound strongest guy in that division. But he's got poor technique. He's got no fucking game plan. He's got awful herky-jerky striking, which he relies on
Doesn't
far
seem to
too
listen
often.
to his corner. There's
But
been
when he
lots of times where his
clasps-
corner's like, go for the takedown, and he's just like
Yeah.
throwing like spinning stuff from the outside. It's like, you're losing the fight this way.
But his story coming into the UFC was he was a poor kid from a poor South American country. And it's
Peru.
like, yeah. And it's like, dude, this guy probably worked with livestock of some type, either bulls or cows or horses. He's so fucking strong, man. Once he clasps his hands around
As
you.
a farmer yourself.
Yeah,
You can see
and
this
I've
in
wrestled
people.
and I've wrestled farmers before, and like they're done after 45 seconds. But like, dude, oh man, that 45, you know, those kind of people that the guillotine's clearly not in. They just got your neck. You're past the guard completely. They just don't know any better than to let go. It's like these guys are so strong. You still feel like, oh man, I'm going out here just from them squeezing, because this is what they do. They're strong. Barzola's super, super strong. Just again, the technique's not there. Now he's been an American top team for a few years now. Think of the best coaches in the world. He's got the best training partners in the world. And yeah, his striking has improved. The wrestling really doesn't seem to have improved. But it's just like he has not changed. He's the same guy that debuted in the UFC. And where he was getting away with it against lower level of opposition, at some point you're going to have to step up. Kevin Aguilar, in my opinion, is not a high level of opposition, but he was enough. And Bobby Moffett, even though I do like Bobby Moffett, the Wolfman, again, not a huge level of, it's not a huge step up that I don't think he can handle. It's that we don't know if he's going to come in with the appropriate game plan and pursue it. And in this case, I think he beats Bobby Moffett. Is he a smoother striker than Moffett? No. He is herky-jerky. He is very stiff. He's very flat-footed. But he's just going to outwork Moffett. His shots will land. They'll have a little more power. He'll push Moffett back. Moffett's not some wonder. If Moffett scores the takedowns, Barzola's too strong. He'll get back up. And if the fight generally takes place against the fence, which is what I'd like, Barzola's the stronger man. He'll get some takedowns. Moffett will get back up, and he'll continue to ride him. It's got
All
decision.
of that sounds like bad
it's got-
DK play, though.
Well, it's got decision all written all over it. And whereas that's normally bad DK play, the best Barzola has ever scored is when he scores 9 or 10 takedowns, because he only gets it for like 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And then
Because he can't hold anybody down. He
Yeah,
doesn't really have
and-
the jiu-jitsu to actually maintain that position.
no, and Bobby Moffitt's probably the best jiu-jitsu guy he's fought. Well, Aguilar's got good jiu-jitsu, but Bobby Moffitt's he's a good grappler. So the thing is that when he does get those takedowns, Moffitt's going to be getting back up, or he won't be in a ton of danger. But that might force Barzola to now get multiple takedowns, and multiple takedowns is the key to breaking the DK slate. So for that reason, people are kind of getting off the Barzola bandwagon because there's no improvements. You know, it's hard to back a guy every time when it's like the rest of the division's improving and
Just
he's
ends
not.
up the same. Me screaming
Yeah.
at my TV, going, "Go for a takedown!"
But you have to assume that
I'm
every
rostering you for
time
takedowns.
he comes back in the gym after the fight, and it's like, man, what are you doing? But in his mind, it's justified because it's like, I won, right? But now you come back to the dressing room, and it's like, what were you doing? It's like, yeah, I'm really sorry, I didn't listen to anything you said. Go back to the gym, get back to the drawing board, and you got to play to your strengths. And I feel like Matt Brown and that entire cast of ATT, that's what they're good at. They're getting their fighters to play to their strengths. Barzola just needs to do that. And the last thing I'll mention on it is, sorry, where is that fight? If it's a shitty South American decision, and this has got decision written all over it. This has got Barzola probably not, he might get outstruck, but he'll land the bigger strikes. And that's the kind of shit that when you look at the numbers, it's like, Moffett, I think, won this fight, but they'll give it to Barzola in South America. So yeah.
Will they though?
I think
Do
they
we
will.
know
I
that
think they will.
the Uruguayans and Peruvians don't just hate each other, and they're just like never give a win to a Peruvian scum?
I'll tell you something, right? How often does a New Zealand fighter get the special rub in Australia? And you went down to that part of the world for like 6 months or something, and you said it. You're like, they're not friends; they're rivals. They don't like each other. But you give the guy a rub because fuck that Yankee. You know what I mean? That's why you do it.
Fair enough. All right, we got heavyweight action. Moving on down the card, we've got Cyril Gane taking on Rafael Pessoa. Cyril Gane, minus 420 favorite. Heavyweight debuts, and he's 3-0. Guy looks the part, though. Kind of training partner. Because and Ngannou's at the Performance Institute these days. So I don't know how much they really train together day in, day out, but he is listed as being a trained by Fernand Lopez, you know, the guy that you see at
yeah. And just to interject really quick, the only person that trains day in and day out with Francis Ngannou is the punching bag, because like everybody else would be fucking dead. You can't train with him day in and day out. You'd be lucky to get sparring with him twice a month.
Yep. 100%. So Gane is 9,400 minus 420 favorite. PESSOA, Rafael PESSOA, he's 9-0. He's 6,800 plus 335. Now, you know, the first thing that you usually think when you see these types of things is like heavyweight minus 420. Like, the guy's 3-0. He's fought nobody. It's not entirely true. TKO, he's fought at least
He's fought some decent guys.
decent guys. Like his last guy, I forget the name, is Roger Souza or something, I believe.
Yeah.
He was 8-1 coming into it. He fought Adam DeZica, who's like one of the better
Adam
Canadians.
Dixka, yeah, he was undefeated too. He's got a weed test that they resulted a fight into a loss.
Sure.
Stupidest thing. But yeah, no.
This guy looks the part.
He was one of our
looks
better Canadian
like, he
heavyweights.
actually looks legit. He looks like somebody who is going to be a force maybe in heavyweight. It doesn't take much to be a force at heavyweight, as we have seen over the trials of time. Where do we have this here? Yeah, he's 29 years old. And again, like for heavyweight, that's pretty young in the heavyweight division. He has a really nice jab. Striking looks on point. Looks super, super strong. He's not one of these fat guy heavyweights. I think he wins all day, but like laying minus 420 on a heavyweight when he's undefeated, taking on another undefeated heavyweight who kind of looks flabby, a little like he's pretty decent on his feet for being a little bit flabby, this PESSOA guy. I think Cyril Gane wins. He knocks him out, looks good doing it, but it's really hard to lay a minus 420 on this type of guy. DraftKings, I could totally see this paying out. You get a knockdown, you get 2 knockdowns, something like that, and a first round finish. Like I could totally see Gane doing it. I'm picking him to win. But yeah, the price a little bit too wide. I'm just never in the business of laying this type of heat on an unproven heavyweight long term.
Yeah, and my problem is I got tunnel vision on Gane. Like he's been one of my top prospects outside of the UFC ever since I watched him debut. I mean, he just seems like not only is he exactly what the division needs, but he's just something that they lack. He's young at 29. He's extremely mobile, which you just don't see at heavyweight for a big guy. And he's a potent striker. Well, in every other division, wrestling is it's key. It's the dominant martial art. And at heavyweight, yeah, that theory is still kind of there. Cain Velasquez ran the division. Cormier, he's a wrestler. Stipe knows how to wrestle. Those guys are all old.
Use that wrestling just to keep people off
at heavyweight. The mold will become stuff the takedown and smash this guy into oblivion. Yep. And that's the mold we're starting to see, and that's the mold that this Cyril Gane is going to do exactly that. Cyril Gane was signed by the TKO organization in Quebec to debut in a world heavyweight title fight against Adam Dixka, right? Dixka's like 6-0 at the time. Cyril Gane, he's like 42-3 or something. I did my back check on him then as a Muay Thai fighter. He was sick as a Muay Thai fighter. Like this guy's lighting people up. He's making his MMA debut in a title fight against probably the number 2 or 3 best Canadian heavyweight at the time. Like bad news, man, bad news. Now Dixka gets hurt. And a good personal friend of mine, Bobby Sullivan, takes the fight. Now, Bobby Sullivan's 250. He's 6'4". I've been down in New York with this guy a pile of times, up and down upstate New York, smashing whoever they put in front of him. He's legitimate. Bobby could take a punch. He's a big, thick, solid dude. You'll never meet a nicer guy in the world. Bloody Bobby. He takes this fight with Gane. And it was like one of the few times where it's like you're kind of like deep down, you're like, shit, I don't want to see my friend get fucked up. Bobby got fucked up. It wasn't even comparable. And Bobby is a good fighter. He's a good fighter. It wasn't even same level. Then he gets the Dixka fight. He murders Adam Dixka, who's never even faced adversity in his fights.
Yeah,
murders.
This guy
him.
looks.
So
legit.
now they fly in an 8-1 Brazilian guy who on paper looks the part, and he murders him. His uppercut. If you want to try to take him down,
I liked his jab watching that Souza fight. Just like he's so fast, elusive, aware of like the other guy's throwing heaters, and he is like he
sees everything
understood that
coming.
range within 2 minutes. He had complete control of that fight.
He can close the gap quick.
And that guy could take damage, the Roger Souza guy.
Yeah, but
it didn't matter. It's like you knew what was going to happen. And he took his time to find that finish too, and without going berserker mode. He didn't have to. He knew that it's just like eventually the ref's going to be forced to sympathy stop this.
He has a lot of similarities in a way to Francis Ngannou, but they're not the same guy. Francis has got the power, and this guy's got the speed. Yeah. Francis just hits you the one time and you fold over, and this guy hits you 3 times and you fold over. but it's massively effective. And again, he's been one of the top rated prospects going so far. So then I was like, okay, well, we can't just suck on his balls and not even looking at PESSOA. PESSOA's a ground guy. He's got to get the fight to the ground. As far as him standing goes, I just think he's way too robotic. He's going to get knocked down in the first round.
I don't know if robotic's the right term.
Yeah, maybe
he's
not.
Throwing like spin and stuff.
Yeah, you're right. It's just a telegraph to me was probably the better.
That he kind of uses. Like for a flabby guy, he moves pretty well. But like,
I just think
he's going
so
to be
ungunned.
giving up a lot of mobility, speed, everything like that. Because GANE is just like a different tier. That's what I see.
Right. It just, you almost get the impression that one guy's kind of that future. And then and here's the other thing that I really noticed that kind of had me off about Rafael PESSOA. But Rafael PESSOA turns pro in 2016. He's 30 years old. Turns pro in 2016, and he effectively fights all of his fights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He fought 7 times in 2017, once in 2018, and has not fought since then. He's been off for a year. He's lambed to the slaughter, and he's local because he's from Brazil, and he's coming in to get bashed up. UFC doesn't sign guys that are 3-0, you know? But they signed a guy here who's 3-0 because he's Francis Ngannou's training partner, and we've heard the rave reviews from him, and at 3-0, we're bringing him in. He's a minus 420 over an unbeaten Brazilian with a nice-looking record. Yeah. But I think he smokes him. You're right. That LFA fight, that was the last one I saw with PESSOA. He beat Brian Hedin. Brian Hedin's got the worst-looking record, is a tough guy. And he dices him out of there just by being that bully. But you're going to need more than just physicality and straightforward movement to beat
GANE moves a lot better than Hedin.
Brian Hedin. So I think when he steps off the center line and nails him with that uppercut, he should fold him up, and that would be it. 9,400. Got to pay to play, brother. That's the way it is. 420. I like the DK price more. I'm searching for a first round knockout. I'm gonna pay up for it. The 420. I got a debuting heavyweight with only 3 fights, going all the way to South America. Like, I do see what you're saying, but yeah, he's very clearly the pick.
Yeah. All right, we move on down. We've got Tecia Torres taking on Marina Rodriguez. Tecia Torres is 8,700 minus 150 favorite. Marina Rodriguez 7,500. And plus 130. Who you got here?
Again, this is another one. It's hard to gauge Tecia Torres because she's losing her fights to the absolute best of the best. So, you can't take too much away from her. It's just that we've seen the limitations here. Her being like 5'1", I think it didn't matter in the beginning. Like, her striking was good enough. American kickboxing background, a little bit of karate in there, a little bit of taekwondo in there. And you know what? She's a decent grappler. She's extremely durable. Almost all of her fights always go to decision. But she's a contender. She's someone that's in the mix. And then now you're just kind of seeing that there's a level above where she's at, and she's just not able to overcome that talent gap. What I don't like is the last couple fights is that she's not getting her punches off. I mean, almost whatsoever. She's someone who at her best...
Division's elite, though.
Very true, very true. But at her best, she can land 80, 90 significant strikes per fight, maybe mix in a couple takedowns. I mean, she got taken down 10 times by Jessica Andrade, but she scored 2 of her own. Like, again, she can grapple. It's just when you're fighting the best all the time, maybe you're not going to look that good. Last win's over Michelle Waterson. So again, the skill is there. But it's that last fight with Weili Zhang. Here's somebody who theoretically, maybe you're a better striker than, but you got to have that grappling advantage. Weili Zhang's too big, too strong, too physical, tosses her when she wants to, keeps her off when she wants to, and just has her way and outpoints her. In some ways, that's what I'm worried about with Marina Rodriguez. Marina Rodriguez is like 6 inches taller and has a 6.5-inch reach advantage. Her fight with Jessica Aguilar, Aguilar's short notice and completely shot to bits and doesn't even shoot any takedowns. But like, she just keeps her at bay and she just annihilates her, like 111 significant strikes. If you want to stay on the outside, you got some trouble. The fight with Ronda Marcos 10-8s her in the first round with the takedowns. But when she's not getting the takedowns, well, Marina Rodriguez is a handful. Wins 2 and 3, and that's why she ends up with the draw. She's 2-0-1 in the UFC, and I like what I see. Now with Tecia Torres, well, Tecia Torres could have as much output, but giving up that 6.5 inches on the reach department and giving up the 6 inches on the height department, it's going to be an issue. Tecia almost has to go for the takedown. She has to force that takedown. She can take Rodriguez down, but shooting 1 or 2 in the fight's not going to be enough. Because what I'm seeing with Rodriguez is, I think Ronda Marcos gets her down 2 of 5 attempts, but second and third round, she just stops shooting the takedowns. And Jessica Aguilar can only shoot takedowns and grapple. Shoots 1 single takedown. So it's her opponents fighting bad game plans is the reason why she's getting these wins. She's 32. She's not a prospect. Took her a long time to get to the UFC. She wins a Contender Series fight, gets to the UFC finally. But I don't know that I would consider her a prospect. Torres, definitely not a prospect, but a gatekeeper. A good gatekeeper in this division. So this one seems like a complete stay away. You want nothing to do with it. Torres at 8,700. She is the biggest decision machine of all time. You want nothing to do with that. And Rodriguez at
her
75.
volume isn't very big. If she's giving up that many inches in reach, she's gonna be staying at a long distance where she has no chance of hitting her opponent, and then she's gonna be darting in. Right? She's gonna have the speed advantage. She has the speed advantage against most people. She's gonna stay to the outside,
and then she'll dart.
It's gonna be DraftKings cancer.
You don't want nothing. Then that's what. Okay, you want nothing to do with this.
It's dog or pass on DraftKings. I'm picking Torres to win. I just think it's kind of unfair. You know, she's fighting. We don't know how good Zhang is yet. We'll see when
she's good.
We'll see. We'll see how good she is when she goes in there against Andrade. And then
that won't be a good indicator.
Losing to the other top, losing to Andrade and losing to Joanna Jędrzejczyk. It's just like, man, you're fighting literally the best of the best. Marina Rodriguez is a step down. I like Torres to win. I haven't seen a decision prop. Maybe
it's all decision all the time.
If they give you like a plus 100 on it, maybe that's how I would play this fight.
Of course.
But yeah, it's a stay away on DraftKings. It's pretty clear. I think we're on the same page. Let's move on to the flyweight division. We have Rogerio Bontorin taking on Raulian Paiva. Bontorin is 8,200. Paiva is 8,000. It's a straight pick'em, and I don't feel like I have even the slightest of edge in this fight. What about you?
Yeah, it's a straight pick'em, so I mean either side's good. If you look at it on this is a 50-50 fight, and it is a straight pick'em on the money line, and Paiva's $200 cheaper, then let's try with Paiva. And I think Raulian Paiva's got a good shot at winning this fight, to be honest. 18-2. Paul, this is what we'll just start with his little history, because I'm sure most of our listeners probably aren't familiar with this guy whatsoever. But he starts fighting pro at 17 years old, and now he's only 23, and he's got 18-2. He's got 20 pro fights accumulated over the time of since 2013. You know, 5 or 6 years in the game, he's already fought 20. Starts off his career 6-0, loses a fight to Luan Laceda. Totally not a big deal. Submitted in the 3rd round, fine. It's recently since then. He's got seemingly infinite amount of cardio. Like, he's just always on you. He's always coming at you. His striking seems to be his bread and butter, only he's not a very refined striker. The other thing I don't like about him is he almost never goes to the body. It's head hunting with winging punches all the time. And whereas that's not the most technical approach, he gets away with it because he's aggressive. He's on you at all time. He's a tiny little dude. Like, he looks very skinny at 125 pounds, but he's 5'8". That's why he looks skinny, and he just marches guys down. So they sign him to fight on Dana White's Contender Series. He takes on Alan Nascimento. They're both 125ers. When you see the fight, Nascimento is way bigger than him, and it's a very good fight. If you just like watching fights for watching fights, go back and watch this fight. It's a very, very, very entertaining fight. Both of them have their moments, but Paiva never relents. Now, the thing here is that Paiva's known as, he's referred to as a purple belt, and he won one single state title as a purple belt. Nascimento's got the grappling advantage. Nascimento gets him down. Nascimento tries to grapple. But what I like about Paiva, Paul, is even when he gets taken down, he scrambles right away and he gets back up. You fish for a leg lock, he'll get back up. You fish for an armbar, he gets out of it. He seems to be good at scrambling. His pro loss, before the kick hard fronts, which we'll get to, is by submission.
Which he won.
But he's worked a lot on his grappling. So even though he's just a purple belt and he's not known for his grappling, the guy can hold his own, so to speak. Against Nascimento, he defends the submissions, he defends the takedowns, and he beats the shit out of him standing. It's a split decision win for Paiva, but I thought he won a unanimous. Dana White's on his feet. He applauds. After the 2nd round, he's on his feet. 1st round, he's just applauding. 2nd round, he's on his feet. 3rd round, he's on his feet. And he signs Paiva. Let's go. Sends Paiva all the way down to Australia on short notice to take on Kai Kara France. And he got a bad rub. But you know something? He outstruck Kai Kara France standing. The difference was Kai Kara France was landing the big shot. Like, he'd rock his head back with left hands. But this kid took everything. Not phased in the slightest bit. He's got an incredible chin, and he's always coming forward. Kai Kara France can wrestle, and he's got good jiu-jitsu. But whenever he tries to take the guy down, he either gets stuffed or Paiva gets back up. When Paiva gets back up, he makes him pay every single time. Now, France is a big favorite in that spot. He's technically getting a home outing, although, just like I said, Australia, New Zealand.
Littered all over my parlays.
And he's on everybody's parlays. That's how little respect we're giving Paiva. But that's the story of Paiva.
That was one of the ones when you complain about, like, oh, I can never get any of these close split decisions. It's
I got robbed.
That's the one I remember.
Yeah.
Just like, oh yeah, I completely did not deserve that one. So
Fair enough. But so PAIVA loses. And then again, it's like, oh, now here's an 0-1 UFC fighter. He's only 23 years old. He's too young. He's one of those Brazilian guys off Contender Series. He doesn't deserve to be here. But at 125, he's a nice little prospect because he's still young. And again, I mean, he's got infinite cardio. He's super exciting, and he's improving daily. So I don't mind him. Now we got Bontorin. And Bontorin, he's in a similar position. They're both one fight into the UFC. Both of them are in really close split decisions where one guy ended up winning. In Bontorin's case, he got the win over Bulatov. In PAIVA's case, he got the loss against Care France. But they're young-ish, similar in their career. Bontorin's the grappling guy. His jiu-jitsu's, it's pretty good. Yeah, he got submitted by Michinori Tanaka. But outside of that, I mean, if he gets you to the ground, you're going to be in trouble. He's a black belt as opposed to the purple belt for PAIVA, so he's going to have that grappling advantage, and he's a shorter, stockier, seemingly more powerful, structured guy. If you look at his Dana White Contender Series stuff, like I'm talking about, like farmers, pig farming, that's what he does. He feeds pigs on a farm. He also takes care of some livestock like horses. So Bontorin's a very strong physical guy. But when he fights on Dana White's Contender Series, he gets fucked up, man. Gustavo Gabriel wins the first round. Gustavo Gabriel is well on his way to knocking Bontorin out in the second round. Bontorin is just on skates, and then ends up falling into a takedown, puts his hooks in, grabs a rear naked choke, chokes this guy out, gets the win. Crazy. You got to give him a contract based on that. That was crazy. Okay, he gets the contract. He debuts against Magomed Babulatov. I had the first round score of Babulatov, right? He scored all the better strikes. In fact, all the strikes were towards him. He scored 2 takedowns. But on the second takedown, Bontorin hits a sweep and ends up on top for like 2 minutes. Not a whole lot's done with it, but he's on top for 2 minutes. They're in Brazil. Brazil gives Bontorin the round. Second round, Babulatov beats him up handedly. It's definitely a Babulatov second round. The third round, Babulatov is winning the fight, and with like 45 seconds left, Bontorin scores a takedown. He immediately transitions to the back, does nothing with it, just lies on the back, and he gets a Brazilian decision. At the time, and I had Babulatov in a lot of places, at the time I agreed Bontorin won the fight. But upon rewatching the fight 2 or 3 times, I don't think he won the fight. He got touched up all over the place. His takedowns weren't him getting takedowns. The first one is Babulatov screwing up a hip throw off a kick. The second time around, it's just like there's 45 seconds left in the fight, but Bulatov thinks he's winning and is tired, so he doesn't go for it. But against PAIVA doesn't get tired. And PAIVA's always scrambling. And PAIVA's a much better striker than this guy. He's going to tire him out. He'll bop him up. If he does get taken down, he'll just last, get back up, make this guy work. Yeah, 50-50 fight, totally agree. I got to take one of them. I'm going to go with PAIVA, and I think PAIVA could actually score pretty decent here, all things considered. He's only 8,000.
Scrambly mess, which is good for points. Yeah,
scrambly mess. And also, you know what? What I like about, we talk about ring IQ and this and that, PAIVA's got good ring IQ. If you take him down, he'll get back up, he'll smash you with 3-4 punches, and he'll try to take your ass down.
Yeah, I was impressed with him.
Because he's always trying to get points back. You know, he's a guy that just goes. So one guy got a win over a good prospect in his debut on a greasy split, and one guy lost to an okay prospect on a greasy split. But I'm going with the guy that lost. Humbling experience. He's only 23. He's a younger guy. I expect him to continue to make improvements. I'd love to see him go to the body, and I'd love to see him, tighten up a little bit. But I think that aggression and that cardio gas tank, I think that'll carry him for the victory over Bontorin here. So sign me up with PAIVA.
Geraldo de Freitas takes on Chris Gutierrez. Geraldo de Freitas, 8,300 minus 130 favor. Chris Gutierrez is 7,900 and plus 110. Geraldo de Freitas coming off of the win against Felipe Colares, where he just wrestle fucked him all fight, scored 127 points. It was pretty good. It was pretty. I was impressed for whatever level of MMA you want to call it. Like, I actually picked Colares. I thought Colares was going to have
the grappling advantage.
Advantage, and he did not. It was not close. Colares goes out afterwards and takes on Dom Polarte and pulls off the upset victory there. So it's like, okay, Geraldo de Freitas, got to give you some respect. Chris Gutierrez, the problem with this guy, DraftKings-wise, and I promised myself after that fight against Ryan McDonald, who was like lost on the feet.
Yeah,
and it's just like, you know what? Chris Gutierrez doesn't have the finishing capability for me to feel good about playing him on DraftKings moving forward. He is 7,900. That's not to say that he can't win this fight. I think he's got the striking advantage. I imagine it's going to be... I don't know if Geraldo de Freitas' wrestling game is going to translate well to taking down Chris Gutierrez. I am picking Chris Gutierrez, but DraftKings wise, 7,900. It's just like I see him scoring like 65 points type of thing in a victory if he does get the victory here. So haven't decided whether I'm going to bet Gutierrez, but that's the way I'm leaning at this time. What about you?
Yeah, I think I got to go with Gutierrez as well. But you know what? This is probably a good stay away. Geraldo de Freitas makes me worried in some spots, being that, yeah, he's the grappler. He seems to be the grappler. And that's the way to beat Gutierrez. Gutierrez is a slick striker. He's got nasty kick game. He's got nice punches. He's a good counter puncher. He lacks a little bit of power, but he's a sharp technical striker. It's being able to wear on him, get him up against the cage, and take him down. Like, that's the way to beat this guy. And Geraldo de Freitas, from what we have seen from him, that's the game plan. The other thing is, de Freitas seemingly is a worse grappler than his opponent his first time out against Corrales. Doesn't matter. He makes it work for himself, right? But that fight's at 145 pounds. I get his opponent wasn't really 145 either, but he didn't look out of place at 45. Now he's coming back to 35, where that's his natural weight class. He's the Shooto Brazil 135-pound champ, and he's going to want to rely on grinding against Gutierrez. So I think Gutierrez, if this is in America, Gutierrez outpoints him just by virtue of he's going to land the better strikes. Maybe he gets taken down here and there, but the American judges will see he landed the better shots while the fight was standing, as opposed to a little bit of takedowns. I don't think he gives up any damage off takedowns, but I do concede to the notion that he might give up some takedowns. I get it. But in South America, I don't know. I can't trust that quite as much. So, you know, it's dog or pass for me personally, and I want to take the dog. But like you said, when you don't have that finishing ability to put this guy away, you're going to get a lot of greasy decisions because you're allowing the guy to stick around. You're going to, if you're not hurting him, Ryan McDonald should not have been there. And he was right there, prime for the pick and to get knocked out. And he hit him with the kitchen sink, and he could put this guy down, right? So maybe Ryan McDonald's chin was better than we thought, or maybe Gutierrez
for sure it was better than we thought. But like, that was a sitting duck, man.
He was just sitting there. You got to put this guy away. You just have to like plow
forward and just land enough volume that the ref goes, okay, we got to stop this at this point. But he didn't really seem to have that killer instinct.
Well, he's a smart guy, you know, and because he's a smart guy, I think that also leads to I'm going to take my time and I'm going to pick this guy. If he's fighting
smart guys don't typically make good DraftKings plays.
No. And if this is the Contender Series, you could win and not get a contract off it. Like they want to see that little bit of aggression. But yeah, there's certain things I'm worried about. The other thing too is that Gutierrez has got a really good kick game. You know, he sets up his punches well with his kicks, kick from the outside, and it's just a good way to accumulate points in what's relatively close fights, right? But again, if I'm worried about his opponent just looking to take him down at all times, I don't know that he's going to give one up. When he fought my boy Raoni Barcelos, like Barcelos is the king, as far as I'm concerned. He's not going to get any better. He's a little old. But this is my dude. And Gutierrez cuts him up. Like, he blades him in the first round. Second round, he gives up the takedown and he gets submitted. But Raoni Barcelos and this guy, Geraldo de Freitas, they're nowhere near the same spectrum. Like, nowhere near. So, am I saying, geez, Gutierrez got takedown problems? Against a guy like Barcelos? Yeah, against Barcelos, he's got takedown problems. Against de Freitas, maybe he just keeps it standing. If he keeps it standing, I find it shocking that he would lose this fight in a pure stand-up battle. So I'm going to go with Gutierrez, reluctantly. Close enough fight, I suppose. And on the DK line, I think you're pretty accurate. I would pass it. Especially knowing his opponent's not just going to stand there with him the way McDonald did. You got a guy that's continuously trying to pursue the takedown and slow things down. You're not going to score as much.
We've got Alex De Silva taking on Rodrigo Vargas. Alex De Silva is 9,200 minus 265 favorite. Rodrigo Vargas 7,000 and plus 225. Alex De Silva last time out took on Alexander Yakovlev at it was 155 as well. Over in Russia. And you know, he won round one pretty clearly. He kind of gassed, and by kind of I mean he did gas
fully and completely.
It looked pretty bad. Now, a tough spot, obviously. You're a Brazilian guy. They're flying you all the way over to Mother Russia, take on a Russian rap superstar like the Thunder of the North. But I don't know, man. That left a sour taste in my mouth when you've got him at minus 265 and 9,200 here. Rodrigo Vargas watched the tape that was available to me, there's a massive post right in the way of him knocking out your boy. Remember our boy Mike Delatorre back in the day?
Yeah, folds him like 18 seconds.
But dude, you can't see what he sets it up because there's literally like a pole right in the way of it.
Yeah.
So I don't see what he did with his hands to set up that head kick, but he knocks him clean out. Honestly, punt play, Rodrigo Vargas, I have no real complete edge here. I just think this line's a little bit too wide. I wouldn't lay the big juice on Alex de Silva. And in GPPs, Rodrigo Vargas, if he can knock out Mike Delatorre, who's to say he can't knock out Alex de Silva? Like, are those guys really at that much of a different level of ability? Probably not. I'm not laying minus 265 on Silva. I'm considering Rodrigo Vargas, a little small play, plus 225, because YOLO, bro.
Yeah, hey, fair enough, because I can tell this could be a greasy fight. This could be a fight where one guy's at 265, so you take everybody's word for it, and he's not quite that good. Like, yeah, dude, I completely get it. But Rodrigo Vargas, from what I've seen, is not... I can't take no fly route on him. Like, I would have to say that the Alex de Silva... It's just, he's faster.
Alex de Silva fucking sucks, man.
Listen, totally agree. In fact, it's not only the Yakovlev fight that he loses.
Hasn't fought in, what, like 3-4 years?
Yeah, but he's also perhaps one of the biggest lightweights you've ever seen in your life. And this kid put it on him in the first round. And then unfortunately, he gassed. Took a fight on a week's notice in Russia against the biggest lightweight of all times. What's going to happen, Paul? What's going to happen? You get tired. He got submitted in the second round with the guillotine choke. Cool little like neck crank. I think. Whatever, doesn't matter. Gets caught in the second round, and so be it. So you know what they do? They say, okay, let's send him all the way down to South America, and we're going to put him up against that Rafael Fiziev. Because the guy's a neat little Muay Thai fighter. He, too, I believe, is from Kyrgyzstan, but spent some time in South America, I think. I don't know.
Sure.
Whatever. But Fiziev pulls out, and because he pulls out, they need somebody last minute. And because they need somebody last minute and they're scrambling, that's the only reason Rodrigo Vargas got signed here. Like, he shouldn't be here. He's 33 years old. He hasn't fought in a year and a half, and he's pulled out of his last 2 fights for Combate Americas with an injury. His last 2 fights, Paul. He beat Delatorre, like, 17 months ago. Now he's 33, taking a fight on a week's notice in the UFC against a 23-year-old kid who actually just gave a round to against Yakovlev his last fight out in Russia. Like, you should pass. 265 is way
You're
too
fucking
much.
crazy
No.
if you lay that.
265 is way too much. And the DK pricing, like, I don't even like this guy enough to say he's going to go out there and knock out Vargas. I totally get it. Pass on that perspective. But he's the rightful favorite. Like, Vargas is not the favorite by no fucking sense.
We're almost 3-1. That's crazy.
Yeah, like, I get it, you know? I don't agree with it, but in some small sense, I do. I'm fully understanding why this guy's the favorite. If this is anybody else taking the fight on a week's notice, 33 shouldn't be here. I get it. He's going to need to just clip this guy and knock him out. And unfortunately, we haven't seen that from him. He's going to have some killer ground game because this guy, the way to beat him, you got to take him down.
Or just let him be fucking tired because he's a gas can.
Yeah, but now he's got a full guy. He's the one with the camp. You think
Maybe
Vargas has no camp? He's taking the fight on a week's notice.
Who's to say that Alex de Silva even matters? Maybe the having no camp didn't even fucking matter. Maybe he just has a minute, or maybe he has 7 minutes of gas, and that's it.
I think when you're standing in the middle of the octagon for the very first time, that affects the gas tank, the nerves, the energy. That's huge. And then taking the fight on a week's notice, that affects the gas tank, you know? And then having Alexander motherfucking Yakovlev, who's gigantic, by the way, for the weight class, he's huge. You have this man on top of you, gonna affect the gas tank. I'm gonna give him a pass on gassing out. If he gasses out here, he's got a serious problem on his hands. But I don't see him blowing it. I just really disagree with the price, like you're getting at.
All right, we got one of the best fights on the card. We have Alexei Kunchenko taking on Gilbert Burns. I'm not sure about the bout order. I've been following the Tapology this week, so it hasn't been as out of date. But like, this should be moved further up the card, in my opinion. This is
on a card like this. This is the honestly, third fight like from the top.
Third, fourth fight. Yeah. Best fight.
I'd say co-main, but I really like the co-main, so I'd put it up there. It's main card, no doubt.
So we have Kunchenko 8,800 minus 145 favorite, Burns 7,400 plus 125. What's your take here, Cody?
Yeah, so I've been kind of going back and forth on this one a little bit, but ultimately it's going to be the weight jump, I think, that I'm going to side with. Gilbert Burns, I mean, as far as his jiu-jitsu goes, we all know that he's one of the better guys, 155 pounds with his jiu-jitsu. He's been spending a tremendous amount of time working on his striking to try to get his striking to that same level so that he could be one of those versatile, you know, I'll outstrike you, I don't ever have to worry about you trying to take me down kind of fighters. It just hasn't really translated. But what he does have at 155 is he's massive. Like, at some point, he'll just drag you to the ground. When he drags you to the ground, you're in his world, and it's very hard to get him off of you, and how are you going to deal with it? But moving up to 170 pounds, you lose a lot of those advantages. You know, you coming in with that size, you being the bigger man, you kind of gets away from you. Yeah, there's a lot of good examples of people that have moved up to a weight class and had success, but those guys aren't moving up and having success based on being the bigger guy still. They're moving up based on, I'm faster now and I have better cardio now. And I just don't know that translates with Burns. The other thing is Burns is taking it on a week's notice. So after his last fight, he claims, I'm done with 55, I'm going to 170. All right, Burns is done. So we know that the move is imminent anyways. But this is a short notice fight, so I more so feel like his hand was forced. Hey, you said you want to fight at 170. We have a late notice opportunity for you. Do you want to fight at 170? When he's fighting at 55, he was cutting something like 30, 40 pounds. So there still is going to be a weight cut at 170 that will somehow affect him a little bit, but it shouldn't be that much. Kunchenko, when he was in M1, I had to work all of his M1 fights. Dude looked like a legitimate prospect. The one thing I always was worried about is he's older. Like, wasn't some 24, 25-year-old M1 champion prospect. He's in his 30s, and he's got good power, and he's got good takedown defense, but he almost just seems like average at times. Unless he touches you and puts you away, there's just not a whole lot going on. And then as far as his UFC career has gone, Thiago Alves, like, this is a layup for you, and you don't look good whatsoever. And then again, in his next fight against Yushin Okami, like, we've given you two golden age veterans that shouldn't be able to hang with a guy with power like yours. And again, Kunchenko just can't put them away. The thing is, though, is that when you look at his team of guys that he trains with, you know, it's Alexander Shlemenko's team out in Russia. It's like they got a lot of guys who are just brute Sambo and wrestling specialists who just peel you to the ground. And Kunchenko is not that. He never shoots his own takedowns. He only looks to stand and doesn't even kick. Mostly just throws his hands, his left hand, his right hand. But training with those guys, it's hard to take him down. And when you don't take him down, you now have to stand with him. And even though it's not like murderous one-punch power, like, he closes distance, he fights you in short range, and it adds up, and it does damage. His cardio has never been an issue. He'd score, you know, late knockouts when he was an M1 champion in those later rounds. And so far in the UFC, didn't look good against Alves. We'll make the excuse that's his debut. Looked better against Okami. But again, it's Okami. Then I'm a little bit worried for him here in Burns. If he ends up on the ground with Gilbert Burns on top of him, he's in a lot of shit. Also, Burns is younger than him. Burns is probably a little faster than him. But this is why, even though I've been flipping back and forth, like I said, this is why I'm going to go with Kunchenko. Burns will strike well for the first 2-3 minutes. Then he gets open. He gets loopy. He gets wild. Either. He doesn't have the wrestling to get Kunchenko down, and he doesn't have the striking to strike with him for a prolonged period. You can strike with him, just not for a prolonged period. If this fight's at 55, it could be like the Cowboy fight. Burns is getting his ass kicked, but then he eventually gets the fight to the ground. But at 170, the chances of you just peeling the guy to the ground are less now. Kunchenko's bigger than you. He's stronger than you. And he trains with damn good wrestlers. He needs to
force him up against the cage and grab his back, or like grab a limb, try to scramble that way. Like, he's not going to get like a double leg takedown.
No, and with Kunchenko being 20-0, it's like we haven't seen him exposed in those areas, which is why it's appealing to maybe go with Burns and say, hey, I've never seen this guy with the BJJ expert on his back. I've never seen this guy with somebody on top of him, holding him down, tiring him out. And I did watch him fight Alexander Buterin one time. Batenko, sorry, Butrin's on this card. Alexander Batenko in M1 one time. And he loses the first round, doesn't look good. But by the third and fourth round, like, as he starts to grind on his opponent who's got 50 fights as an older veteran, it just falls right apart. But I don't know that Gilbert Burns he's not shop-worn. He's fighting some good fights right now. When he's not fighting in MMA, like, he was on the Titan FC card in a grappling match with Gleison Tebow. And he submits Gleison Tebow in like 3 minutes, like effortlessly. Like, you don't do that. Who does that? This guy's jiu-jitsu is extremely good. So Kunchenko could be in an absolute world of shit. I just don't have the faith in Burns. But for $7,400, if you're flying multiple lineups, at least check it out, see what happens.
I
And then the
actually
plus
I love him as a
125, like
DraftKings play.
yeah, like he's also dog money. Like fuck, that's why you keep going back and forth. It's like I definitely see the pass for him. It's that he's somebody that's
I think
very
170
frustrating to
could
watch at
be
times.
okay with it for him. I think that could help the gas.
But his
I think,
biggest advantage outside of his ground games is size, and without that, I can't get around it. His wrestling, you said, doesn't have good wrestling. How is he going to get the fight to the ground?
yeah, it's I almost hope that they get up against the cage and he jumps on his back. Like
Could
that's
be,
kind
could
of what
be.
you're hoping for.
Yeah,
More.
could
Like a standing rear naked choke is getting set up, and then Kunchenko tries to like slam to his back just to try to get out of it, and that's how you.
But I remember,
Like,
I remember Burns against Paulak. What was his name? Paulak, and he's rocked.
mhm.
Then he gets him to the ground. He submits him like nothing. And the Giagos fight, it's like holy shit. The second it hits the ground, he submits him
Same
like nothing.
against Cowboy
Alex
Oliveira.
Oliveira beat him pillar to post. And the second it hit the ground, he
Pillar,
submitted him.
yeah.
But at 170, if that pillar to post beating occurs and you don't get the fight to the ground, it's not going to be good. And we've seen Burns pillar to post ass kicked and doesn't shoot takedowns. It's very frustrating sometimes.
I find it interesting that Burns took this fight, to be perfectly honest. He hasn't been a short notice guy in the past.
No.
He's actually been pulled from fights in the past because of, weight cut issues trying to get to 155.
My greasy theory on it is that last night they were like, shit, we got Herbert Burns. If Gil don't take the fight, let's just replace him and say nobody will even notice. We got Herbert, we got his brother now, we're good.
Yeah.
But no, all jokes aside, Gilbert Burns, talented guy. It's just I really struggle with the game plan sometimes. And when you fall in love with your striking and you're too willing to strike, it'll blow up in your face. Kunchenko hits harder than Paulak.
Yeah.
He arguably hits harder than Cowboy Oliveira. And he's got a lot of nice little knockouts on his record. He extends you into the later rounds and hurts you. For that reason, I love the value on Burns. But this is the good fight. And that's why, just like you said, main card fight. Well, why would people not want to watch this? Whatever. I don't set the bout orders.
Yeah. I'm picking Burns. But yeah, it's super, super close. I'm not going to be shocked either way. But 7,400 Gilbert Burns. I mean, his game, what should be his game plan is lining up for him to score more than 74 points.
He's one of the more
Whereas
appealing looking
Kunchenko
dogs.
is just like he's going to try to keep him on the outside. He's going to try to maintain distance and box him up like 8,800. It's just he's got to cover a lot of ground. He's got to be an absolute war for him to pay off the price tag there. So Burns as a DraftKings play. We'll see how he looks at the weigh-ins and where this line goes as the week goes on. But I really actually want to bet Gilbert Burns. And finally, we have the most interesting one from like a game theory perspective on this card. We have Polyana Viana taking on Veronica Macedo, 8,600 for Polyana Viana, who is a plus 105 underdog. Line has flipped since open. Veronica Macedo, who is loser of 3 straight fights, is 7,600 and minus 125. Here's the game theory thing, or my mentality about game theory. If everybody, because this is what happens on DraftKings, everyone is going to play Veronica Macedo because she's a favorite and she's $7,600. It's pretty much straight pick 'em at this point. Her style does not lend to scoring any sort of points. Well, she's going to score like 50 points in a decision victory in this spot.
Well, let me bring it up. Go on.
She's
I'm
super
listening.
small. She's undersized. I'm not saying play Polyana Viana. I'm saying just avoid this fight altogether. Because if like 40% of people end up on Macedo and she scores like 52 points in a victory, good on you. You got the win. It's not going to kill you at the end of the night, but you're not winning the big bucks either. This is one of those spots where, yeah, if everyone just starts piling on because of the odds and what the odds look like I don't think this was a very good DraftKings play, especially from the Macedo side. Like, she's gonna try to counterpunch and edge out like a close victory here. So, yeah, it's a full out pass to me. I would be more intrigued by Viana, who has finishing abilities in the past, early finishing abilities in the past, and
one time kicked the shit out of a man
nobody's
in the
gonna
streets.
own an 8,600 plus 105 underdog.
Yeah. Fair enough. Line opens, and I think, holy shit, I'm going to take Veronica Macedo. She's the underdog. She's 0-3 in the UFC. That's why you're getting the pricing. I watched the tape. I watched the film. I like Veronica Macedo. I think she's going to win. And then, yeah, that's the line flips. Same thing. People are putting money on Veronica Macedo, probably because they're getting to this point in their week where they're doing the tape study for that fight. And path to victory is there. 0-3 in the UFC, you're getting a good price. But Veronica Macedo gets taken down in all of her fights. It happens every time. She can't wrestle. She can't really grapple. This has the writing on the wall. It's the exact same thing. Paulina Viana, they always say, BJJ 2015 BJJ World Champion, 21 state titles in Brazil, black belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She can't wrestle. Like, absolutely cannot wrestle. Then the other thing is, kind of like we're talking about Gilbert Burns, she's relying on her striking more, and her striking is not good. She's got 3 weapons. She's got an inside low kick, she's got a left body kick, and she's got, like, the right hand. She hardly throws combinations. If she does throw combinations, the first 4 or 5 will 100% miss. And then whatever she punctuates the end of the combination with usually comes through. But anyways, her striking is not very good. Her wrestling is not very good. Her cardio is not very good. She is not able to switch to a plan B. This becomes very evident in the J.J. Aldrich fight. So she wins her debut against Joe Stevenson's wife. And then she gets that fight against J.J. Aldrich. The fight with J.J. Aldrich, yeah, same thing. JJ's a better striker than you, not really known for her grappling. Paulina needs to force this fight to the ground. No ability to force the fight to the ground. When she does get the fight to the ground, you quickly notice, like, what's this BJJ World Champion shit? Like, why is it that you're a BJJ World Champion? You go for an armbar from mount, and JJ Aldrich just slides you off and gets on top of you? When JJ Aldrich's in her guard, do you think she has a guard? No guard. So how is she some high-level BJJ black belt? I don't understand. So she loses the fight for JJ.
Brazil, Cody. Everyone has a BJJ black belt.
Yeah, well, quite possibly, right? So you lose that fight against JJ, and you're 1-1 in the UFC. Now it's like, okay, you know
It's
what?
like European Muay Thai champion.
Yeah. Hey, but she kicked the shit out of that dude. Remember that guy tried to mug her in Brazil? And, like, his face looked like he went through the fucking windshield. Like, she messed him up. 1-1 in the UFC. She's still marketable. She's got to get the fight to the ground. But she lost as the favorite against Aldrich. Now she's made the favorite against Hannah Cyphers. Hannah Cyphers has almost no redeeming qualities other than the fact that she's got heart. She's so herky-jerky, no movement, just comes right forward at you. And she has no reach. She overextends in all of her punches, and she works her. She works Paulina Viana. Viana can't take her down. Mm-hmm. Viana decides to strike with her. And even though when you look at the numbers, it's 77-67 for Paulina Viana, she outstruck her. You don't get that impression because she's got rinky-dink strikes with no power on it, and she's almost always getting backed up. The thing is that she hardly tried to even attempt to take Cyphers down and was unsuccessful at ever taking Cyphers down. And then it makes you realize, shit, what is it good to be at jiu-jitsu if you can't even get the fight to the ground? And the few times that the fight has gotten to the ground, it's not Rodolfo Vieira. That's jiu-jitsu. This is just not quite there. So now we look at Veronica Macedo because Jesus Christ, has her UFC run been absolutely pitiful. So why would we possibly pick this girl? This is what I like about her. Right from the time she debuts, okay? You and I did that first. We debuted her first show, or for her first fight. We broke it down. She's coming off a terrible draw. And what was the very first thing we ever said about this girl? Undersized. Massively undersized.
And she's taking on Ashley Evans-Smith.
We said she can make 115. No idea why she's taking this fight against Ashley Evans-Smith, who's actually big for 135. Smith is a wrestler. She wrestled collegiately. She wants to get the fight to the ground. Macedo's got a taekwondo background, a karate background, and a bit of a kickboxing background. She's a good striker. She wants to stay to the outside. She likes to throw spinning stuff, but she can't grapple. Ashley Evans-Smith, twice her size, takes her down, mauls her with elbows. Fair enough. The next fight's Andrea Lee. Well, Lee sits at 125, but Lee's big for the division, and geez, she's strong. She's very hard to peel to the ground. She's been working a lot on her grappling. She's far too strong, far too physical, and she's far too big. She stands like 5'7" versus the 5'4" for Macedo, and she uses every little bit of it in that clinch with those knees. And I thought Macedo gave a good account of herself. I really did. Unfortunately, she's just too small. Her third fight in the UFC, Jillian Robertson. Jillian Robertson is one of the actual competent wrestlers in this division, who also happens to be good at jiu-jitsu. So what happens? Robertson takes her down and submits her. So we've not ever seen what this girl can do when she's actually fighting in her skill set. It's always just her getting taken down, and that's what it is. Jillian Robertson's relentless with takedowns. Andrea Lee is relentless with her pursuit of whatever. And Ashley Evans-Smith is way bigger and had a good game plan that night. But Paulina Viana, Doesn't have none of that shit. She's not a better wrestler than any of those three aforementioned girls. She doesn't have the pursuit. She doesn't have the aggression. She doesn't have the cardio. And then if you needed one little final kicker, is that Macedo was the smallest 135er. I know. But she was the smallest 135er, right? Then we see her at 125. And it's like, man, she's still too small. She's too small against Andrea Lee, and she's too small against Jillian Robertson. But now she's getting a short notice replacement in Polyana Viana. Viana's taking the fight on like 10 days notice. Viana fights at 115. The only reason she's fighting at 125 here is because short notice. So this is the first time ever, Paul, the Macedo is actually going to fight. And I get there's like 4 or 5 inch height advantage here. But it's the first time she's going to actually fight.
1 inch height advantage for... Height advantage isn't even a freaking thing. I hate when people... My boy, the Greek always... Oh, there's a height advantage here. It's just like...
This is MMA, dog.
Where is your mathematical background? Or like, where is there any proof that height advantage is really a thing? It's not. But yeah, the 3-inch reach advantage for Polyana Viana, but obviously not as well of a seasoned striker as
so she's got that like hip side jab.
She's basically the same size as her opponent for the first time, is what you're saying.
For the first time. And when you watch Viana, hands are really low. She allows her opponents to outstrike her and lead the dance. It didn't happen against Maya because she's terrible, or against Maya Stevenson.
Yep.
She's terrible. But if Macedo, she's way faster than her. She's a far more dynamic striker. If she can just keep the fight standing for the very first time in her UFC tenure, she eats Viana upstanding.
Sure.
The thing is that
we're not playing Macedo on our Iron Man.
I'm 1 week removed from saying that all Cole Smith had or Cole Williams had to do is keep the fucking fight standing.
What the fuck happened there, Cody?
No, that
guy looked like me on the scales, not like me years.
Paul, I'll have you know, we did the show before the weigh-in.
He looked like me, basically.
Yeah. No, honestly, we did the show before the weigh-in, and it was my birthday, so I was gone. And I got a guy on Facebook. He says, "Oh, I'm really sorry I missed weight. I attempted to cut 45 pounds in the last 4 days and only managed to cut 24 today. But the fight's still on. My opponent accepted." I was like, oh, fuck, backing off this one. But by that point, my guns are already unholstered. He got fucked up. This could be a similar situation. I'm on Macedo. I'd be one of these people that would take that dog money that would lead her to now be the favorite. I see it. I really do. But like if Viana does score a takedown in the first round and gets on her back, what do you think's going to happen? Macedo's probably going to give up the rear naked choke. She's got a history of doing so. So it's a risky proposition. And then as far as the DK side of it goes, like 7,600 on a Macedo, she'd have to score 100 significant strikes. She averages 25. But she averages 25.
19 points per fight.
Yeah, but those are all fights in which she's taken down and has to deal with being off her back for the majority of it. So
she's not very good.
No, but she's got a path.
She's got a path to victory.
She's got a path here.
It's a fucking pick'em. Of course, she's got a path. I just don't follow the herd here. Is what I'm saying. Is don't follow the herd with 7,600 and be with the other 40% of people who all have Veronica Macedo. She's not gonna score so much that it changes your game.
Your boy, a close personal friend. What am I saying? Friend, close personal mentor of yours would say it him best. Got to follow that sharp money, Paul. Johnny the Greek coming at you.
He blocked me. I deserve it.
Mentorship. Fucking over, pal. Over.
He blocked me on Twitter.
Oh, well, you had fun in games while it lasted.
I mean, the funny thing about it is that, like, all I really want is that video. The Fade the Greek video. Shouts to Wesley Colvin, I believe, is the one who started the hashtag Fade the Greek. Wasn't my creation. When you go through, you type in hashtag Fade the Greek on Twitter, you'll see Wesley was the first one to write it. So shouts to at True UK Fan for that. I just like Fade the Greek Twitter is like my new favorite pastime on Twitter because it's hilarious. The guy says the most outrageous, erroneous,
it's a
crazy
tough spot,
things.
It's a tough spot to do.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be
doing.
in that position.
Wow.
Like
I know a lot of people that would like to.
Unless
for sure.
you are, I wouldn't want to be one of the guys. I know you, Marley. There's other guys out there that want it.
Me? What are you talking about?
You could do that, Jay.
I was talking to you before the show. I got a little something in the pipeline that hopefully comes together.
Yeah, but you would be good at that. I wouldn't want that role. So it is a tough spot. And if you go on a losing streak, the world's gonna come after you. But you know, Johnny, you're a little, like, I actually find it entertaining. I find the watching the whole dynamic. This adds to my experience of watching Contender Series. Is like hearing his egregious analysis and what he tells people and what lines he got and stuff like that, which is like filled with fabrications and lies and all of this other stuff. Because he was just like, oh yeah, I'm betting massive amounts, and it's just like, dude, the limits on these fights are like, he suggested Herbert Burns last night. It was a minus 600 favorite. And it's just like the limits at a lot of these places is probably like 500 by the time it got to 600. On those openers, it's like $250. So it's how much are you really, the crime syndicates and all this other stuff? It's like, come on, man. Come on, man. You're not pulling the wool over my eyes.
Yeah, I've been doing this long enough, buddy.
What our one friend Paquette,
he's not geared for people like us, though. He's geared for people that might casually tune in and don't know what they're looking at.
But he's a little soft. He's a little soft. He blocked me. I've never actually tagged him. Somebody tagged me in a tweet. He obviously clicked on my account, saw that it was a hashtag fade the Greek hater.
I got a few questions for you because I just don't know enough about him.
Yeah.
But like, he was covering other sports obviously before MMA?
Yeah.
And did he do videos of it, or like was he a written guy?
They've got him. They have like some betting show on Fight Pass
because it doesn't look like
he's
it's
on there, and Michael, like, Bisping's usually on it as well, and Bisping just like rips on him and makes fun of his bets and stuff on the show. So it's like, because it's kind of part of the gimmick, I think. And like, if you notice, they went onto the desk last night. There was one thing, I'm saying last night. Now people know that we recorded this on a Wednesday. But the one funny thing, he's on the desk there with like that jabroni new host that they have on the Contender Series. I didn't even know who he was, but I still don't know what his name is. So they had him. They had Johnny. Johnny admits to like he's been having a bit of a rough go on the Contender Series.
I want to say props.
Props to that.
Yeah.
And the other the host is like, oh no, you have a Dom Cruz isn't even looking at him, is staring off into the distance like this, like looking all the way around. And then after he talks about the fight that is coming up, Dom Cruz goes, oh yeah. So and then Dom Cruz, who obviously wasn't listening to a second, not even a word, wraps up what happened on the last fight, not realizing which fight they were talking about. They're talking about the fight coming up, not the fight that just finished. It was pretty hilarious. And you see the Greek in the tough spot, just like he didn't listen to him.
No, and here's the tough part for me, right? If you're gonna put this guy, you put any gambler, you put me, you put any of the guys in the community, the best guys, in between Bisping and Cruz, they're not going to take the guys seriously.
No, it's true.
Just because right off the bat, it's, we're fighters, and you're a couch potato that essentially just watches fights and critiques it, which is all we do is watch tape, and all you do is live your regular life. So who's going to be more equipped to do the job? All I got to say there. Yeah, Bisping and Cruz are fantastic at what they do, and we love having them, but they're not going to give you that same amount of respect off the bat. Right. You go for lunch with these guys, you have conversation with these guys, you let them know, like, holy shit, dude, this guy knows everything about me, my fights and my career. Maybe they'll accept you, but he's not like this. He's not a fight fan. The thing I'm going to stand up from on this is, if ESPN told me we want to hire you, you know MMA, we like you, we like the whole thing, great. You take it. If they told me we need a 1 minute, you're a gambling guy, we need a 1 minute preview of this tennis match, it would be very difficult to bullshit it. Mm-hmm. So I do my notes. I got my notes. Okay, I'm going to go out with this. Only, this ain't no Grand Slam event. This is ATP Challengers, dog. You're fucked. You're set up for failure right off the get-go. Most sane human beings pass on those fights because there's nothing to be gained. The price is no good, or it's two guys that they're just so green in their career. What's going to happen? But this guy's got 55 seconds or a minute or whatever it is to go out there, give two picks, all this information. He doesn't know who these guys are. People who are hardcores don't know who these guys are. And they expect this goof to figure it out? Like, no, not going to happen. So he's uncomfortable in the position. And but now I've given him a little defense. The one thing I'll say is the most irking thing about him is that when I did check out his Twitter, he's always trying to like justify shit, and he'll always be like, it's just a numbers thing. I could lose 10 matches in a row. It doesn't matter because you're gonna go, and it's like, no, dog, losing 10 in a row fucking matters.
When you're telling people are taking your advice, man. And like during that Herbert Burns fight too, it's just like it was a tough stylistic matchup for Minner, who likes to. But
Minner always gets submissions. This is what happens.
Yeah, exactly. He's a guy who likes to go to his grappling, and he's going up against a guy who's just is on a different level altogether. But like Minner was giving him the business until he got caught in that triangle.
Yeah. And here's the thing with Minner, Derek Minner, very tough guy. You look at his record. Journeyman type record, but he's got 30 pro fights. He's fought in good guys. He's fought for good organizations. By no means is he a slouch. but he's a decent wrestler, and he's going to not want to go to the ground with Herbert Burns. And then he goes on record stating, I am going to take this guy down. You know what? Maybe you will, and maybe you'll have some success. But at some point, you can only play with fire for so long. Yeah. Burns should never, he went off at 700. Should have never gotten a 7-1. Shouldn't have been 6-1. But like, yeah, 4.5, 5, 5.5 all day. Because it was just, you knew Minner was going to make some bozo decision. Unless he was trying to throw us off. Which clearly he wasn't.
So yeah, Dana is actually the one who posts the Fade the Greek videos.
Well, Dana likes the guy. They must have some type of... Yeah, but he doesn't
even... so I'm still getting the videos even though the Greek blocked me, so...
Greek just doesn't want to hear your shit.
I've never actually tagged them in my shit. He actively went out of his way to discover my shit.
But this is, to me, and we can wrap up the show here.
And he's blocked like half of the... He's going to be blocking you. Somebody's going to send it to him, and he's going to be like, who's that fucker in the
But
in the
this
red hat?
this goes with everything Paul Shaughnessy has ever gone
X
for.
going to give it to you.
Paul Shaughnessy was the first guy to tell me. I was living with Pat Mayo. Pat Mayo got some death threats or something weird. And then I was like, damn, you haven't made it in this business until someone tweets you some death threats. Like, that's how you know you made it. And I was like, then whatever, you block them. Paul says, block them? You don't block them. I says, why? He goes, that's them winning. You mute them. You mute them. They look like idiots. They think they're tweeting you, whatever. And nobody likes to be ignored. Nobody likes the cold shoulder. But when they see such and such blocked you, that's a troll's win. Mm-hmm. Paul Shaughnessy got motherfucker blocked. He didn't get muted. He got blocked. And I can see the glow on you. I've been talking to you right before we even did the show. That's a win for you. You won. You beat the Greek. Mm-hmm. I like it.
100%. So hashtag fade the Greek. We're going to be fading Greeks a lot more. A lot more.
Why, is Anthony Christodoulou coming back? That's the biggest Greek to fade.
Yeah. Hopefully.
One of these days.
I wouldn't mind seeing Tony Pudding's back in action. Anyway. I think that's, you have any final thoughts? Or you have to go through your picks. You always do that.
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm a little light on dogs this
parlay.
week. Yeah, Pogi Rob's Pogi Parlay. So, but yeah, we got to have Shevchenko, no doubt about it. I'm going to go Vicente Luque. I'm going to take that slight dog Bandenay play. I'm going to go with Volkan Oezdemir. Rodolfo Vieira, he'll be one of my plays of the week. He's probably the play of the week. 230 is not a bad price. Like, you don't feel that bad giving that out. Barzola, I know I'm going to sweat it, but I'm going to take him. That's another favorite. Gane, definitely going to take him. That's another favorite. So if I'm going to chase a dog, I would take Rodriguez. She's the most appealing dog that I've gone to at this point, I would believe. But my initial pick was Tisha Torres. I'm going to go with PAIVA. That's even. Chris Gutierrez. There's at least a slight little dog. The Alex De Silva fight, I get it. Pricing's way off, but I get it. Now, I did go Kunchenko. I said I've been going back and forth with Kunchenko. You're going Burns. But, like, because I'm on a lack of dogs, and MACEDO would be another dog play for me, but she switched to the favorite. Like, I'll admit, the two best-looking dogs, in my opinion, at this point, seem to be Marina Rodriguez and Gilbert Burns. Maybe Burns better than Rodriguez, plus 125. So, I'll take Gilbert Burns. I'll take the dog. Yeah. I'll switch for one more time. I'll take Burns. And then I'm going to take Veronica Macedo.
Cody Saftic, ladies and gentlemen, give him a follow on Twitter at CJ Saftic. You can follow me on Twitter at Paul Shag. See all of my... It's basically become a Fade the Greek hater account at this point. But I imagine, times will pass. Contender Series will end. I will move on to bigger and better things. But anyway, for Cody Saftic, I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.
Mayo experience! Experience!